This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. It is week 4, day 2, Tuesday, February 10th, and this is Evolve Global 22's Healing Circle, and I am excited to be here with you tonight. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Circle. I'm glad you're here. Yesterday, we began this week by talking about repair as staying, not disappearing when things feel uncomfortable. Tonight, we continue our conversation by naming something many of us quietly believe, that we need to feel ready before we can repair. Repair doesn't require readiness. Pause for a moment and notice what you usually wait for before you return. Calm, clarity, certainty, or the right words. Over the last few weeks, we've been building toward this. In week 1, we talked about support before insight, how understanding comes after steadiness, not before. In week 2, we explored small, consistent supports and how trust is built over time, not through big moments. In week 3, we practiced listening without fixing, staying present instead of rushing to change what's happening. This week, repair is where all of that meets real life. And tonight, my friends, we're naming this truth. When repair waits for readiness, it often never happens. Many of us believe repair should only happen once we feel calm, clear, and emotionally steady. We wait until we've processed enough, until we're sure we won't say the wrong thing, until we feel confident we won't make it worse. But repair doesn't require readiness. It requires willingness. Waiting to feel ready often becomes another way of leaving. Let's talk about a real human example. I see this all the time. A woman notices she snapped at her partner in the morning while rushing out the door. Nothing explosive, just sharp, dismissive, intense. All day she thinks about it. I'll bring it up later when it's calmer, she says. I don't want to make it worse. I need to understand why I reacted like that first. So she waits. By the time the evening comes, the moment feels too old. Her partner has gone quiet. The distance has settled in. What started as a small moment is now a wider gap. Repair could have looked like this, much earlier and much more simple. Hey, I was short this morning. I'm still a little unsettled, but I don't want to leave it hanging. This is not a perfect apology. It's not a full explanation. It's just simply presence. What often hurts relationships isn't the original moment. It's the absence afterward. Waiting to feel ready and waiting to be ready. Long day, guys. Waiting to feel ready feels responsible. But what the other person experienced was withdrawal. Repair doesn't require clarity, it requires contact. When we wait until we're fully regulated, confident, and articulate, we often miss the window where connection is still open. Willingness sounds like, I don't have all the words yet. I'm still figuring it out. I don't want distance between us. That's not unsafe, my friends. That's human. Now, as always, learning point number one. Readiness is not a requirement for repair. Let's go a little deeper here. Repair does not depend on emotional clarity. It depends on availability. Most meaningful repairs happen while things are still tender, unclear, or unresolved. If repair required readiness, very few relationships would survive. Ask yourself this question. What would change if readiness was no longer the gatekeeper for repair? Let's connect back to our woman who snapped. In that example, the pause wasn't about care. It was about being thoughtful or responsible. It was about waiting to feel ready. Ready sounded like calmer, clearer, more certain, and less messy. But while readiness was being pursued internally, distance was being created relationally. This is the quiet truth many of us don't realize. The nervous system doesn't need a perfect repair. It needs evidence of return. In that moment, repair didn't require having the right explanation, processing everything first, or guaranteeing it wouldn't be uncomfortable. Repair only required willingness to stay in contact. When we say, I don't have all the words yet, but I don't want to leave this unresolved, we are not destabilizing the relationship, we are stabilizing it. Waiting to feel ready often feels safer internally, but relationally, it can feel like there's a void, an absence. So this learning point matters because it reframes repair. Repair is not something you earn after regulation. It is often what helps regulation happen. Readiness is optional. Willingness is essential. Learning point number two, waiting often protects us from discomfort, not harm. We often tell ourselves we're being responsible by waiting. But many times, waiting is actually about avoiding discomfort. Avoidance can look calm and thoughtful on the outside while creating distance underneath. Repair isn't reckless, but it doesn't wait for comfort either. Let's look at this through a parent and child moment. A parent snaps at their child during a stressful morning. Nothing extreme, just a sharp tone, a raised voice. The child goes quiet. The parent notices immediately and feels bad. But they also think, I don't want to upset them more. They're sensitive. I'll wait until later. I need to calm down first. So the parent waits. How many of you parents have been through this? I have, everyone has. The rest of the day moves on. School, homework, dinner, all the normal, regular things that we do. The parent tells themselves they'll circle back when things feel smoother. But from the child's perspective, something else is happening. The child is thinking the child is not thinking they're being respectful of my space. The child is thinking, I must have done something wrong. My feelings aren't important enough to come back to. This, my friends, is just how children think. The waiting protected the parent from the discomfort of naming the moment, but it did not protect the child from the impact of it. Repair could have happened right there, even imperfectly. The parent could have said, hey, I spoke sharply earlier. I was overwhelmed. You didn't do anything wrong. That single sentence doesn't escalate harm, it contains it. Waiting often feels like care, but many times it's self-protection. We wait because it feels awkward. We're afraid of tears. We don't want to feel like the bad parent. But children don't need us to be calm, polished, and perfect. They need return. Repair doesn't require comfort, it requires presence. And when we wait too long, the body, especially a child's body, fills in the silence with meaning. Ask yourself this question: what discomfort might I be protecting myself from by delaying repair? Learning point number 3. Repair happens in motion, not mastery. Repair is not a perfected moment. It's a movement. It's returning before everything makes sense. It's allowing connection to continue while understanding catches up later. Healing grows through motion, not mastery. Let's look at another very human example that I'm sure all of us have been through at some time or other. A longtime friend realizes they've been distant. Texts went unanswered. Invitations were declined, not intentionally, but just overwhelmed, tired, and stretched thin. Weeks pass. The friend thinks, I should explain myself properly. I don't want to sound flaky. I need to get my thoughts together first. So they stay silent. Eventually, the distance feels awkward enough that reaching out feels even harder. Repair doesn't come from crafting the perfect explanation, my friends. It comes from movement. Repair could have sounded like this: hey, I've been quieter than I meant to be. I don't have a clean explanation, but I miss you. That message isn't mastered. It doesn't resolve anything, but it reopens the line. What heals isn't the explanation, it's the motion toward connection. Mastery waits for certainty. Repair moves with honesty. The nervous system doesn't need polish, it needs signal. Signals say, I'm still here. You still matter. This connection isn't being abandoned. Repair happens when we move toward one another, not when we finally feel articulate enough. Ask yourself this question: where in your life might movement matter more than having it all figured out? Learning point number 4. Imperfect return is more healing than perfect silence. Silence often feels safer than saying the wrong thing, but silence deepens rupture. Imperfect return keeps relationship alive. It signals willingness, not completion. Let's look at another real human perspective. And many of us, I'm sure, have experienced this, or either personally or we've seen this in our families' lives. A daughter hasn't called her mother in weeks, not because she doesn't care, but because the last conversation was tense. Words were misunderstood and feelings were hurt. She thinks, I'll call when I know what to say. I don't want to reopen things. I need to feel more grounded first. So she stays silent. Meanwhile, her mother feels the absence, not as peace, as uncertainty. Did I say something wrong? Is she pulling away? Did I lose her? The silence is clean, no mistakes, no awkwardness, but it's also lonely. An imperfect return could sound like, hey, I've been quiet because I didn't know how to come back. I don't have the right words yet, but I didn't want to stay away. That sentence doesn't resolve the tension. It doesn't explain everything, but it reconnects the nervous system. Silence often feels safer because it avoids discomfort. But to the body, especially in relationships, silence often reads as disappearance. Imperfect return says, I'm still here. You still matter. This connection hasn't been abandoned. The body doesn't need perfect language. It needs a signal of presence. Perfection protects us from embarrassment. Presence protects connection. And most of the time, healing doesn't happen through flawless communication. It happens through showing up a little sooner than feels comfortable. Ask yourself this: who might feel the impact of my return, even if it's imperfect? Healing point number 5: willingness builds trust over time. Trust is not built when everything is smooth. It's built when we show up anyway. Each imperfect return teaches the body and the relationship that connection doesn't depend on perfection. Let's think of this real human example. A coworker and a manager have a rough interaction during a meeting. The manager interrupts, dismisses a point too quickly, and moves on. Afterward, the manager notices the shift. The coworker is quieter, less engaged. The manager feels uncomfortable and thinks, I should wait until I have a clearer explanation. I don't want to make this awkward. I don't want to draw attention to it. But instead of waiting for the perfect moment, the manager does something small. Later that day, the manager says, I've been thinking about what happened earlier. I cut you off, and I don't want that to become a pattern. I'm still learning how to do better. It's not eloquent. It doesn't fix everything, but it shows willingness. The next week, something similar almost happens again, and the manager catches it in mid-sentence. Over time, the coworker begins to trust, not that mistakes won't happen, but that they'll be acknowledged. Trust doesn't grow because the manager mastered communication. It grows because the manager kept returning. Trust isn't built by getting it right once. It's built by being willing again and again to notice, return, and repair. The nervous system learns trust through pattern. When something goes wrong, does the other person stay engaged or disappear? Willingness answers that question. People don't trust perfection. They trust presence over time. And willingness shown consistently becomes the soil where trust grows. Ask yourself this: what trust in my life was built because someone returned before they were ready? Repair, my friends, might look like reaching out before you feel settled. It might look like saying, I don't have clarity yet, but I don't want distance. It might look like returning while emotions are all still mixed. These moments don't need polished, but they matter. Now, let's think of our power of 3. From an energy medicine perspective, repair restores flow by re-engaging energy that has pulled back. Delay allows fragmentation to settle. From an Ayurvedic inspired lens, repair supports rhythm and continuity. Excess waiting creates stagnation and imbalance. From an herbal wisdom perspective, healing doesn't wait for perfection. It unfolds gently over time. Repair follows the same wisdom. When repair waits for readiness, disconnection becomes familiar. Distance stretches. Misunderstanding deepens. Repair interrupts that pattern by allowing connection to continue. This is how healing stays alive. Let me say that little blurb again. It's so important. When repair waits for readiness, disconnection becomes familiar. Distance stretches. Misunderstanding deepens. Repair interrupts that pattern by allowing connection to continue. This, my friends, is how healing stays alive. Repair doesn't require readiness, it requires willingness. Thank you all for being here tonight. And remember, the Healing Circle is the heart of Evolve Global 22's work, and it is available on Patreon. It's a steady, ongoing space for gentle support in real life. It began as a founding space, and it became clear that it's meant to stay accessible, affordable, and consistent. The free live streams, replays, and even live shopping help keep the circle open for people who need it. If this work supports you and you'd like to stay connected more deeply, the Evolve Global 22 Healing Circle on Patreon is always open. There are master classes there. I do one-to-one support. There's a plethora of resources. It is truly a daily support for you. Remember, my friends, healing lives here. Wholeness lives within you. Peace, love, and light. I love you all. Take care, and I'll see you in the circle.